My name is Abdul Shakur the Panamanian. I was born in the country of Panama, 1969. My city is Colón. This is for all who are from Colón who are watching. Um, I've been a Muslim since 1990. That makes this year will make 26 years as a Muslim. Um, Part of my life, I grew up in Panama. And I came to America in the 1970s with my mother from San Antonio, Texas, Maryland, Fort Detrick, Maryland, South Carolina, King Street, South Carolina, and lastly, New Jersey, Piscataway, New Jersey. My father, he was in the military, and what's one of the things now that I understand that it's Allah's decree. The day he was drafted to go to the army, and the day it was to leave for Vietnam, Allah had decreed for his orders to change to go to Panama. He met my mother, and they had me. Life before Islam, I was a wild guy. This is during the crack era. My home, my family, we were victims of the crack epidemic in the 80s. My father ended up getting attached to that drug, and it changed his life and ruined our family. And I lost many friends and family members who were murdered from the crack wars, is what we call them. Uh, Being around certain shifty people, you change, you become wild. I was a studious individual when I was in school. I used to like studying and everything like that. I went and I joined the military, and in there, I met some other people that taught me a different life, and that changed me. I was really a wild guy. I ended up becoming more violent then. Um, I can even remember one classmate of mine that ended up being stationed the same place I was stationed at. He wouldn't hang out with me because of my wildness. Because of my wildness, I was going out to a club one night, and with another girl who was from Panama. We were going to a club, and I was drunk, and she was driving. And she was racing another friend of ours, and she lost control of the car. We flew off an overpass. The car tumbled all the way down to the bottom, and we ended up coming out of that without any scratches, anything. Like crawled out of there. I had seatbelts on, all of that. It was Allah's decree, that saved me from destroying myself. And I can remember sitting in the hospital because they sent an ambulance to take her in. And I remember sitting in the hospital waiting for my mother to come pick me up. And I was saying to myself, I got to change my life. Because I had three other cousins that none of them lived to see the age of 21. They were from Brooklyn. All three were murdered in Brooklyn. And I was saying to myself, man, I may be next. Maybe next. But that was not the decree of Allah at the time. So after that whole situation, I started wanting to get closer to God because I didn't want to end up like my cousins, dead, and them not getting any type of religion in themselves at the time when I knew them. So I was looking for some religion. And I started doing the church thing, going to church, and questions started coming up. Everyone's talking about Trinity within the church, and within that Trinity, I was wanting to know who is it that who's in charge? Which one is in charge? There's three of them. Which one is the one that's the main God, the main one that's in charge? That's the one I need to direct my concerns and my worship to. And no one can answer that question for me. So another friend gave me the book of Malcolm X, his biography, and I read that, and I was impressed seeing how a guy who lived a life of crime become a Muslim, And that transformed him. And I said, well, this is what I want to do. I want to transform myself also. And so I used to just hang out in the library, read about Islam. I learned about Islam from an encyclopedia. Islam was simple. When I came to find out that in Islam you had the Prophet Adam, the Prophet Moses, the Prophet Abraham, the Prophet Muhammad, Noah, and Jesus. I was like, what, these guys believe in Jesus too? And the final belief, or the main belief of Islam, was only God is the one to be worshipped. He's one God. He doesn't have no children, no parents. He doesn't have uh, our failed qualities, or he doesn't get sick. He's not human. He's a supreme being. So that was simple for me. All right, life after Islam, after I declared that Allah is the only one to be worshipped and that Muhammad is his last messenger and servant, I all those extra activities that I had of the partying, the women, the hurting people, I cut those loose. Because I didn't want that coming back on me on the day of judgment and those people. Even to the point where now I started feeling some remorse of the people that I harmed. Then I was like, man, I'm going to go back and try and find this person and apologize to them for what I've done. I started, it was a Muslim brother who really was teaching me Islam more, and I started hanging with him more. And guys that I used to party with, who just used to be around me, if they wanted chicks, then hey, they knew to come and hang with me. I started telling them about Islam. And some of them started accepting Islam. And we started growing. We became even more friends, and now we were brothers. And I felt of a more now a brotherhood than I did before when I was off on my own thing. Now I had more time, and that time I spent now studying more, reading more of the Quran, learning how to pray, which that brother taught me from what he knew, but reading more. And back then, there was no internet. So a lot of it was all the old stuff that he had from when he was a Muslim in the 70s, and going to the library. I would go to the library, take notes, read an encyclopedia, whatever I could about Islam, whatever I could. And Allah had protected me, and He guided me to right things. Ended up the closest masjid to us was about like 40 miles away from us. When I was stationed in Fort Stewart, Georgia, we should go to the masjid in Savannah, Georgia. And there, that's when it was a brother there that would sell books, and I would buy books from him. So I started learning about the companions, the four righteous caliphs that came after the Prophet Muhammad, not after him, but the Prophet told us that we're guided, we're rightly guided by Allah. The thing, like I said before, my transformation from what I was, and my mother, she saw it. She was happy because she was concerned about me drinking. I used to smoke cigarettes. I never did any drugs because I seen what that did to my father. And I wasn't about to end up like that. So my mother, she saw a positive thing. At one point in time, she got a friend of mine to talk to me to come back to being a Catholic again, leave Islam, you don't need that stuff. And as I learned more of Islam, and he continued tried calling me to going back to the religion, Catholicism, I talked to him about Islam. And by Allah's permission, he accepted Islam. And I asked him, okay, and all, even preachers and the priests and stuff, I would ask them, okay, again, who is the one that's in charge? You say that now Jesus is all three, the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. All three are Jesus. Yes, All three of Jesus. The Trinity is all one. You can't have one without the other. Okay. And then I'd ask them if Jesus is the God, and the God is the one that we depend upon. He's the one that we don't live except by his order, and we don't die except by his order. And if Jesus is the God, those 3 days that he is dead and in the tomb, who was running the universe? Now here comes all these other different theories and ideas and everything like that. Then no, that's the man. That was the flesh, the man, the son that was in the tomb. But then you told me that you can't have one without the other. Which one is it? What is it? It's either he's a God or he's not a God. And for me studying and learning and reading encyclopedias, I come to find out that the Trinity was something that was voted upon back in 325. They voted on the divinity of Jesus. Was he the Son of God, and was there a Trinity? Out of so many bishops in what they call the Nicene Council. And this was something that was brought up and put forth mainly and was pushed by Constantine, the Roman emperor, who himself was a pagan god. He worshipped the god called Sol Invictus. But a lot of that idea of the Trinity and everything he took from and brought it into Christianity. So now when they couldn't answer those questions for me, and I was like, Islam is my religion, and this is what I'm going to stay upon. Now I've left the military. I'm in the IT field. I've been doing that for about 20 years now. I have a nice sized family that I'm happy with, that the Creator's given me. And now I understand who is in charge. There is no other gods except the one God himself, which we call Allah in Arabic, the God. And everything else is servant to him. It's simple. And this was something that was taught to me by another brother named Jaliluddin Khan. He was a professor at the University of Cambridge. He told me about which Jesus do you believe in, the historical Jesus or the mythological Jesus. The Revert moment for me, it went down like this. There was a guy, everybody used to call him weird. They used to call him all kind of names because he didn't party. He just stayed in the barracks. He stayed to himself. He was quiet. He didn't harm nobody. Never got no fight or anything like that. He was a sergeant. And one day we were at the sniper range. This was in the military, and I stepped to him. I walked up to him. I asked him, "Hey, how you doing, Sergeant?" And he says, "I'm doing fine." And then he asked me, "How you doing?" And I said, by the grace of Allah, I'm doing good. Because I thought, maybe this guy's a Christian. He might want to talk to me about Christianity. It's my opportunity to tell him, "Look, dude, I'm not interested in that. I just want to worship the Creator, the heavens and the earth." So he says to me, "What do you know about Allah?" And I said to him, "I know that Allah is the only God, and there's no other God out there but Him." And he said, "Yes, this is true." And I was shocked. I was like, "What?" And then it just popped into my head to ask him, "Are you Muslim?" He says, "Yes, I am a Muslim." And I was still baffled because before that time, I didn't know how to pray, but I used to ask God the Almighty to guide me, give me guidance, guide me. I want to worship you, guide me. I didn't know how to pray, and that's all I knew was to ask, and this is what I would do day in, day out, asking for guidance. So that guy, I asked him, I said, "Well, since you're Muslims, can you teach me about Islam?" He says, "Yeah, sure, I'll teach you about Islam." And yeah, before, with the news media and everything like that, they were showing Muslims as killers and everything like that. This guy was harmless. He didn't harm nor bothered anybody. So he taught me how to pray. He taught me how to prepare for prayer. Even when I was fasting, he showed me how to do the fasting. Everything, the basics, which he knew what he taught me. And he was from the Virgin Islands, from the island of Saint Lucia, and that me and him, we ended up becoming friends. And when people would talk bad about him, I would let them know, no, this guy, he's a religious guy. That's why you don't see him in no club. That's why he doesn't drink. That's why he didn't mess around with no women. He's not married to them. So all of those things also uh, attracted me to Islam. He wanted to purify himself. I wanted to purify myself. And eventually, other friends of mine, same thing. They wanted to purify themselves also. Um, all in all, I made that decision that Islam is the only religion for me. And everyone out there that's listening, don't allow yourself to be duped by a bunch of bigots, human beings who look like humans but have hearts like devils and Satans. What I mean by that, being Afro Latino and growing up here in the United States, being the number one uh, the topic on the news at 6 o'clock every day. Someone who is of African descent has murdered this person, has stolen this. That's news. That makes news. Now that makes everybody else fear for somebody who looks like me, who's of my race. You can be a block away. They're locking their doors. They're pulling out their guns. They're afraid. They don't know what's going to happen to them, and not even know anything about the individual. Don't let a group of bigots who have grown up like that make you end what could be the salvation for you in your afterlife. Make you, I don't want to know nothing about Islam. They're a bunch of killers. They're terrorists. They're all of this stuff like that. Don't end don't close the book too quick. Don't end your afterlife where you can get possible, you could be in paradise. Don't end it because of some idiotic bigots out there. Islam is a means of purification. When I mean purify, I mean clean yourself out totally. I've witnessed in this religion prostitutes, drug dealers, killers, gangbangers accept Islam and have transformed themselves. Not don't take for a minute that they're weak or anything like that, but they become better human beings. Where now they start caring about other human beings because they were in that position and they know. And they know that those people don't know. And they help. I watched one guy who was a killer talk to a crackhead about Islam, and that crackhead accepted Islam. I've watched that. I've seen that. And this is the religion for all mankind. Questions get answered. So now that you know a little bit about me, what's your story?